On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. We've got a very, very cool challenge that has occurred. Actually, a lot of us probably couldn't pass it ourselves, but I love the fact that we're making America healthy again. I just didn't feel like doing another Putin, Trump, Ukrainian, Zelensky thumbnail. So, yeah, I've got a bunch of news to talk about with that, too. I got some other interesting news around some fights going on with Gavin Newsom and Mamdani. Like, seems like there's a lot of attention being brought there. Definitely have some cases for election integrity is improving. So we got some stuff. We got a lot of things to talk about. Also got a roughly 14-minute speech that Trump gave. That's very good. Or it was an interview, maybe. I think it was on Fox News at 5 p.m. yesterday, whatever show that is. There's three of them. All said, yeah, we got some good stuff. Let's get into it. Let's rock and roll. East Coast, so we talked about this. We talked about the storm, and I told you that this was going to be an indicator as to who controls the weather right now. Basically, in a nutshell. One, it immediately got crazy big. It went Category 5, like right around here. And then I think by the time it got over in this vicinity, it was down Cat 3, Cat 4. Kept bouncing it up and down. I think it's actually turned into a tropical storm now. It's lost a lot of its steam. And on top of that, it's actually spinning up and not actually going to make landfall. So as I suggested, it's showing us who's in charge. I mean, we still get hurricanes. We've gotten hurricanes this time of year every year as long as I've been alive. So, I don't think it's all manipulation. I do think there's a lot of just natural stuff that happens that they try to take advantage of. We've got a new image that is showing the extent of this blast-damaged cargo ship. It's pretty crazy what happened here. What's the best? I got the image of it actually happening, I think, right here. This is probably the best image. Check this out. This is pretty crazy. Boom. So it was a coal ship carrying coal. They think it was a methane leak. One of the holds blew, like big time. And you can even tell, obviously, that it blew out some stuff on the side, right? Something came out onto the water off the side of the ship. So again, coal, extremely flammable. Methane gas, extremely explosive. These are definitely not good things to have in close proximity to each other. Here's kind of an image of the ship sort of up close. So that doesn't get much bigger, but you can see, that doesn't help at all. That helps zero, in fact. There you go. Anyway, whatever the case is. So you can tell these holds, one of these blew open, blew the entire cover off it. I don't really know what happened off the side, and it must have been that side that we saw, because that's where the lid is. But, yeah, that's pretty strange. It was in Baltimore Harbor, by the way. This is probably considered big news. Reasonably close to where the Francis Scott Key Bridge is. Coincidence, not coincidence? I don't know. Whatever. You guys decide. Donald Trump truthed this out. Ursula von der Leyen, she's the distinguished and highly respected president of the European Commission, and I have been discussing the massive worldwide problem of missing children. This is, likewise, a big subject with my wife, Melania. It is a subject of the top of all lists, and the world will work together to solve it, hopefully bringing them home to their families. This is a big statement to the deep state. He is putting an end to the child trafficking. We are seeing it happen. We're seeing it play out, and it's been pretty freaking awesome. Thousands of student visas are being revoked under Trump. Thus far, let's see, the State Department has revoked over 6,000 student visas for overstays and law violations, the vast majority being assaults, DUI, burglary, and support for terrorism. State Department official told us recently. The official noted that an estimated 4,000 visas were revoked directly as a result of the foreign students having violated U.S. laws. So we've kicked a bunch of people out that are troublemakers. And here's the thing. For anybody that bitches about this, I don't even care what they're saying. It's like, look, here's the thing. If you're a guest in our country and you break the law, you go home. Sorry. You are a guest at someone's house and you keep breaking stuff and don't seem to be remorseful about it, you're not coming over ever again. Or you got a dog and you don't watch your dog and your dog poops all over the place. Had a lady that brought over one of her dog to a buddy of mine's house. He's got the house everybody goes and hangs out at because, he's stupid, frankly. But it was funny as hell as her dog just starts pooping right on the ground. I'm like, are you not going to do anything? It's like, well, he'll be done in a second. I'm like, he's pooping in someone's house. Anyway, whatever. I'm obviously the weird one. Texas Democrats finally ended their 2-week walkout, setting up a vote for the congressional map favoring Republicans. Kind of weird how this is all played out. First off, the session ended I believe it was on the 15th. So I kind of got this. I think I talked about it yesterday, and I was under the impression the session was still over. He created another special session once the first one ended. So they are now in a special session. The delinquent House Democrats had run away from their responsibilities, but apparently now they're back. Democrats who showed up on August 18th but face arrest warrants that were issued for fleeing the state, they were released from the chamber. So the way this played out, let me do this. Well, they were released from the chamber. Well, I guess I'll just finish the statement and then tell you, we'll backtrack from there. But they were released from the chamber in the custody of the Department of Public Safety officers responsible for their return, meaning they're going to make sure they come back. They're not allowed out of their sight. They're not allowed to go anywhere. They're not allowed to hop on a plane. Now, what happened is Texas House reconvened on the 18th of August, which was yesterday, Monday. Speaker Dustin Burrows announced a quorum and subsequently ordered the House chamber's doors locked and action permitted under House rules. Not uncommon. It's happened before. Burrows scheduled the House to reconvene on August 20th when a vote on a redrawn congressional map could take place, potentially adding 5 Republican seats. Then they were let out, but the ones that obviously have a flight risk built into them, well, they're apparently got someone with them. I don't exactly know how that works. I don't know if they're going to be staying in their house or what, or if they literally got to go to some special place until tomorrow, until the 20th. Don't know. But they're obviously not trusted because they would easily turn tail and do it again in a heartbeat. So we'll see what happens. Tomorrow's the vote. Court is blocking the GOP redistricting reform to preserve black voting power. I thought this was interesting for, one, a couple reasons. One, it's an interesting failure. Two, the lines that Texas is drawing are kind of on a Hispanic race line. And I had put out just kind of a question to the audience, and someone emailed me. But I'd put out like, hey, I guess it's kind of, it's the Spanish, at least it's kind of sectioning out the Spanish and sort of, or the Mexican, Hispanic, whatever, Hispanic's a better word to use, but kind of sectioning them out and giving them their own votes. And typically they vote conservative. So it's kind of a cool way to, in my opinion anyways, to kind of peel out that voting segment and highlight it. And someone had emailed me and made an interesting point that I didn't disagree with. In fact, I would say I'd probably agree with it. And they said, but you kind of disenfranchise any white or black people that might be in that same area, right? You kind of silence them by not allowing them to have an equal voice. Well, interestingly, here's a case where it's kind of the opposite. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals has denied Louisiana's request to enforce its congressional redistricting map, initially passed by the Republican majority legislature in 2022. Judges ruled the map violated Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act by diluting the votes of black residents through the practices described as packing and cracking black voters, undermining their voting power. So again, the complete opposite. Here, they're specifying that you must allow the racial lockdown, if you will, or separation, which again, I like what the email guy told me. I mean, yeah, I guess I'm kind of against now. It seems like a bad idea. Again, I understand why they do it. I totally understand it, but it's not really appropriate. But again, going back to the olden days, I would feel like I'm like the Biden's going back to the Jim Crow days. But going back to the days where, they literally it was majority whites everywhere. And so obviously blacks didn't really feel like they had a voice in Congress. So they started creating these black districts. Again, this is where this whole separation really started, segregation. Reverse discrimination began. And honestly, it was just continued on a form of racism, really. I mean, it's built into, it's almost codified to a degree that racism and separation needs to occur. And then what that does is creates animosity between the groups that, truly are racist. There's racist people on both sides, or maybe I should use prejudiced people on both sides of race. There's certainly plenty of white prejudiced people, but there's also plenty of black prejudiced people, as well as prejudiced people of all other races and creeds. Whenever you judge somebody based off of their race, you're being prejudiced. You're prejudging based off of race, It's one thing to have stereotypes, but to insist the stereotype's true or to always assume a stereotype's true, well, that starts to get into prejudging or prejudice, right? So, I'm not trying to lecture. I'm just trying to explain my awakening process, I guess, around this whole concept. Mamdani's affordability agenda could be extremely costly. Zoran Mamdani, the 33-year-old Democratic socialist, likely to be the next mayor of New York City. I doubt that, but okay. So says Zero Hedge. I guess this is what we'll assume. He won the June Democratic primary with the promise of making the city more affordable. His plans include more free or low-cost services, including creating city-owned grocery stores, making all city buses free, freezing rents on stabilized apartments, providing free childcare, and raising taxes on the wealthy. Who was actually going to stay in New York? Literally. If you even have a teeny bit of money at all, and you would fall into the category of getting extra taxed, you're going to move out. It's already stupid expensive to live there as it is. This is just going to be the final thing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in New York. If New York is dumb enough to put this guy in office, this will be the final death knell, really, of New York. This is going to be a sad, sad day if they do. I have more faith in New Yorkers. I don't think they're that socialist communist. I really don't. I think they're pretty liberal, sure. I've known plenty of New Yorkers, good people. Never had a problem with any of them. I mean, really, I haven't at all. Politically, as things got very polarized, it became hard to be friends with them, of course. But yeah, it's been the case with, well, lots of people, unfortunately. So I don't know. I'm excited to see. California, much the same. I talked about this yesterday, but I just kind of want to keep some of the things with Gavin Newsom on the front burner because he is such a horrible person. And he is potentially running for president, and they're trying to build him up a lot. He's even got this new press guy that's trying to spend all this time being cool, and he's done a reasonable job doing that. I could care less, frankly, about that dude, and it's not going to make the difference because what we're going to do is continue to hammer all the failures of Gavin Newsom, and there's so many of them, it's going to keep us busy for eons. But California's wind and solar policies have become such a debacle that even Politico, and that's seriously, even Politico is actually criticizing him, right? The state had promised to fast-track all this stuff through Gavin Newsom's fast-tracking program, and stuff that was supposed to take less than 270 days or 270 days max. Well, we've got one project in particular that's a huge wind project that's 650 days late, and it started after this 270-day rule began. Yeah, Gavin Newsom, you fail all over the place. In fact, we've got plenty of examples of this. We've got, I believe this is the sheriff of Riverside, Bianco, cool guy, and he is, well, he's taking it on himself to go after Gavin Newsom. I think he's potentially running for governor, maybe. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know that Hilton guy is, but anyway, I like this dude. He's friggin' solid.
My message is, Gavin Newsom, I am going to expose you for the complete fraud that you are, the liar that you are, and you will never, ever be the president of this country. You will never do to the rest of the country what you have done to California. California's problems are completely caused by California government. We have the greatest businesses, we have the greatest people, we have the greatest business minds, the greatest innovators, the greatest creators, the greatest entrepreneurs in the country. We have the fourth largest economy that is artificially propped up to be something good. And the thing that is preventing us from being great, from achieving that California dream that that I came here for, the only thing preventing us is government. Government has its boot on our backs, keeping us down with over-regulation, activism, appeasement of activists, instead of taking care of the majority of Californians as a whole. And it's an agenda. It is a complete agenda of making sure that government is in control of all of our lives instead of us being in control of government. And so the only reason I'm doing this is to restore that balance. The balance is supposed to be that government is supposed to be working for us. We are not supposed to be working to increase the size of government. And that's the only reason why California is no longer the greatest state in the country. You can have our politicians say it as much as they want, but we are the laughingstock of the rest of the country. We are the laughingstock of the world. My wife and I were fortunate enough to go to Europe last year, and we had the first night there we splurged. We had an unbelievable dinner with we paid for a sommelier to come and make sure that we learned everything about Italian wine and all of that stuff. The first introductions, where are you from? California, and he laughed. And he said, you guys have that crazy governor. And we're just looking at each other like, how would someone across the world know that we have a lunatic for a governor? So we started talking about it, and he's like, everyone wants to go to the United States. And it used to be everyone wants to go to California. Here, no one wants to go to California anymore. They'll go to California for Disneyland. That's it. And it's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing that we are no longer the greatest state in the country, and we're still all the same people. We're still all the same businesses. It's our government that has completely changed and brought us to this laughing stock position, and I'm going to take it back. I take some blame for it, because I wasn't standing on the rooftops yelling to everyone that we had to stop this, look what's going to happen. And so while I was concerned with my career, my life, my family, my own home, and making sure that I was secure, I kind of just wasn't paying attention to what government was doing, and now it's affecting everyone. So I will make sure that what I came to California for, my California dream, I will make sure that every kid growing up now has that dream, and even the kids that now are from 20 to 35, that it's impossible for them to make their California dream. I'll make sure that I make up for it, and we return the ability to look at that Gold Coast as the beacon for the rest of the country. And if you're going to make it, you come to California to make it, and you work hard and you'll do it. That has to happen again. And that's really the only reason I'm running for governor.
Oh, he is running. Good. Okay, cool. Every once in a while, I get things stuck in my head that aren't correct. San Francisco Unified School District faces payroll crisis as some teachers aren't getting paid. They've literally had to shut down some schools. The San Francisco Unified School District is having all sorts of issues. A lot of it, in this particular case, is stemming from new software. They're trying to get off the old software. They spent an extra $25 million to keep that alive longer, and they spent $20 million to start up a new software system to replace it. Currently, neither of them are really working properly, and so we're just spending gobs of money up there. Well, they, whatever. You've got teachers that aren't actually getting paid. You got some teachers complaining about getting foreclosed on or being in foreclosure processes because they haven't gotten paid appropriately. Also, in one of the most expensive parts of this country to live is in San Francisco. Extraordinarily expensive to live up there. Very, very expensive. It's up there with Manhattan. I think there's a couple other places that are more, but they're some of the highest expenses in the land. It's ridiculous. We pay pretty bad down here, but way worse up there. California's AG Bonta is running out the clock to stop parental rights initiative. This is a bill. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this. This is a bill that is meant to let parents know if their child is transgendering or anything along those lines, right? They're talking to school people and they're trying to do something. They're trying to get transgendered. They're trying to get on meds of any kind. They're trying to do anything like that. The California tried to pass a law that basically said they didn't have to tell the parents. And what this bill is meant to do is to keep them from having to tell their parents, which is pretty freaked out. So parents have majorly freaked out. Now, one of the things Bonta's getting way called out on for being a total douchehole, because he seems to be, is he's named it Protect Kids of California Act. It's meant to stop kids from transgendering and not telling their parents. It's called Protect Kids of California Act. Now, one problem that he's suffering, thank God, from this, and they're fighting this in the courts in a weird way, but because they named it what they named it, a lot of people aren't signing it at all. Neither way. Not one side or the other. Apparently, no one cares about protecting kids here in California, whatever the case is. I do. It's funny, as I remember, whenever anyone asks me to sign anything at grocery stores, I never do. I won't give them anything. I won't sign anything. I hate it. I don't hate it. I dislike it tremendously, but I am not going to give them information. I don't know who the hell they are. I'm not going to fill out information and hand that to some stranger. Are you shitting me? What are you going to do with it? You could end up at my house later. No, I'm not signing shit. I don't give a crap what you say. But I remember they were pushing the Protect Kids of California Act, and I remember I kind of snickered when I heard him say it, because in my mind, I'm like, it's obviously has nothing to do with protecting children. In fact, you assume it's the opposite. So he is fighting this. He's trying to run the clock out. We've obviously got people fighting it on the side of humanity. And there is a bill. I'm trying to see if I can find it way down here. I actually read this whole thing, so I can't get that life back. But AB 1955 or 1955, prohibiting schools from reporting students' gender identification to their parents. Literally a bill here in California where they try to force teachers or anybody in the administration of a school from telling the parents about their child and the major drastic changes that their child's considering going through. And some of their fear is, well, what if one of the parents is angry about it? Or what if they're both angry about it? It's like, well, then you're probably not going to really easily be able to do it, are you? Doesn't mean that the state should suddenly decide, well, we don't like your parents. You don't have to talk to them. Like, what? You're going to trust a child that says their parents are assholes? Of course, all children think their parents are assholes. To a child, a parent is. That's their job. Unless you're a crap parent, then you're probably not. You're probably their best friend. So yeah, this literally is what it's called. Protect Kids, California. Bonta's just a really pile of crap. So whatever. They're fighting it. I pray to God. I mean, there's just so many crazy things going on out there. Michigan lawmaker, he's under investigation after late night ballot stuffing video emerges. This dude here, this was in Hamtramck, Michigan. Okay. City Councilman Abu Musa under investigation for election fraud. Surveillance video allegedly shows Musa depositing stacks of ballots at drop boxes day before the primary election. He won by just a few dozen votes. The word is he might have dropped upwards of 1,129 actual ballots. He won by just a few dozen. Yeah, that's not good. So we've actually got a second city council member there too in Michigan, Hamtramck. But the other one was Mohammed Hassan and Mutasin Sadman. So there's now 3, it seems, of them that have gotten in trouble for stuffing ballots. They're under investigation. They'll get their time in court. So we got 3 of these dudes so far. I mean, again, this is what's going on, guys. This is what's going on. If we don't get our elections under control, and we were literally, I think we're one election away from either getting or losing this country. And if Trump does all the things he's supposed to do, I really think the last election, we got Trump in. We're still trying to get his people in office. That would be nice to help, right, into their Senate-approved spots, right? I think there's 150 plus people, 180 people, some crazy number of people. 0 have been approved so far. 0. It's the first time ever in the history of presidency that's taken this far, and still none have happened. Normally there's quite a few by now. Even in the worst, there was quite a few by now. Got another Virginia governor's race is narrowing. I was just bringing this up because the other day they were showing this way off. Spanberger is the Democrat, and she had 46% of the vote. Or she does now, I'm sorry. She's got 46. 39 is the other individual. Let's make sure I'm doing this right. But Virginia Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears. This is the black lady. I hate to refer to her as such, but it was, 1, she's a Republican and she's black, which is always exciting. But 2, she seemed like a reasonably good lady. I mean, she was kind of weak when it came to some of the stuff she's done. I don't think she's really gotten out there and made enough noise, but whatever the case is, this is the lady. She's picking up in the polls, though, so this is kind of a good sign in my book. Right now, Spanberger leads Earl Sears 46% to 39%. It was 43 to 26. So she's actually barely gone up. Spanberger, the Democrat, and Our Lady, I guess, Winsome Earl Sears, has increased quite a bit. She's got a 13-point increase versus a 3-point increase. So she is definitely gaining. Hopefully we can get some noise made in Virginia for any of you all that are out there, because we need to get some of these people across the finish line. We've got DOJ and U.S. Attorney Payroll have officially launched a probe into the possible manipulation of D.C. crime data.
Welcome back. Breaking news. Fox News has confirmed the Justice Department is now investigating whether crime data in Washington, D.C. was manipulated to make it look lower. David Spunts at the DOJ this afternoon. David, what can you tell us about the investigation?
Well, hi, Jillian. 2 sources briefed on the probe tell us that, yes, the Justice Department is investigating whether or not someone or multiple people may have manipulated crime data when it comes to Washington, D.C. crime statistics. This investigation is being run out of U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro's office here in D.C. Also, Maine DOJ, where I'm sitting now and speaking to you, also has a hand in this probe. Again, these are just allegations. President Trump mentioned something about it yesterday on Truth Social and said that there is an investigation underway. Then we were able to confirm that as well from 2 independent sources. I will note, if you go on the D.C. website, Jillian, it says violent crime is down 26% from what it was last year. But we asked, after seeing a report from a local affiliate here in Washington, D.C., that a police sergeant was put on leave. We asked, MPD said that they could not confirm the existence of an investigation, but not many other details other than to say right now there is a DOJ investigation into the possibility that some of that crime data was manipulated to make things look actually safer than it was. Jillian?
We'll be tracking that.
Yeah, we certainly will. Certainly will. So yeah, we're figuring things out slowly but surely, but definitely figuring stuff out. Want to remind you guys, of course, of Pet Club. There is a cool mushroom called Coriolus versicolor. Coriolus versicolor. It actually enhances the immune system significantly. In fact, all sorts of studies have demonstrated it has caused excessive levels of healing in a number of different ways. We've actually, there was an individual, they do have for pets as well as adults, by the way, or humans. But the guy, Baby Trump, was on my show eons ago talking about this. He had a big tumor. He took copious amounts of this product for humans. There's some, the pills. And he took a bunch of the Enforce. He took a few of these different ones, but like they say you take one pill for every 50 pounds, right? And he was, I think $180 or something like that. Pretty buff dude. He was taking 4 times that, essentially. He was doing really mass quantities of it. And supposedly the tumor shrunk down. They never had to operate. The doctor was shocked. They called it a miracle. Certainly prayer was involved. I don't know if he did any other stuff. This was kind of really before the ivermectin, fenbendazole, and stuff like that really existed. So hard to say. But it's shown with pets and animals amazing help with trying to get healthier coats, trying to get maybe bumps and lumps. Some of them have some of those weird skin bumps and tumors and stuff. We've had a number of pets that have reported issues with their eyes kind of clearing up, just betterment. It seems to really help. There's no way you can eat too much of it. So really a lot of the times when it comes to humans, certainly there's a few ways to do it. The gummies are a great way just to get it in your system. They've also got some cookies as a fun way to eat something fun and sweet that also has the Coriolus versicolor in it, so you feel less guilty. That's always fun. They've got coffee with it in there, and it also doesn't have that toxin that makes you immediately feel like you've got to pee. Believe it or not, that's what that is. There's a toxin in coffee that's actually bad for you, but whatever. It's the thing that as soon as it gets in your body immediately starts to try to pee. It's like, I got to pee. Definitely got to pee. We got to get this crap out of us mad quick. They don't put that in their coffee. Now, I will say, I don't buy this. I have a favorite kind of coffee. I drink it all the time. I'm really, I'm weird about it, and I think it's delicious coffee. It's an amazing price. It's roasted within 7 days of when I get it. It's outstanding coffee. I get it at a coffee shop that I used to work at. So it's just great coffee, and not everybody's got access to the brand, so I don't want to necessarily say that. And I do have a wonderful friend, Split Rock Coffee, that sells coffee, and he's makes a really good product. I enjoy his product a lot, so there's something to be said about these different kinds of coffee, but this is a lot healthier. It's got the Coriolus versicolor in it. It's kind of expensive, so, whatever. Dogs and cats, though, easy. They get treats. Dogs and cats, if you want to share, if you've got the little weird mixture going on in your house where there's dogs and cats living together, maybe a bird too. Oh my God. Get the Mojos. That's a liver treat. Both dogs and cats will dig that one. Otherwise, if you just got dogs, they got those mush puppies. And dogs like the cookie. It's like a cookie. Generally, they get stoked with it and they keep on eating it. It's got that Coriolus versicolor. They've also got dried food that's got the Coriolus versicolor. They've got canned food that's got it in there, and it's also all good ingredients, amazing ingredients for that matter. It's very, very healthy food, especially this freeze-dried one. It's reduced weight, so it's like 1 pound bag makes 5 pounds of dry food. It gets hydrated, and it's pretty cool. I did that with some garden soil the other day. I have some plants outside that I take care of, and it's my fun little way of touching nature, if you will. And I got some of this dehydrated dirt. And it says it expands like 5 times or something like that. And I'm like, huh? I used too much of it. It really expands. I'll just tell you that. It was funny as hell. I was like trying to shovel it off. I'm like, where am I going to put this? Way too much. Damn. Anyway, they got special sauce. They also got these cool toys, the sticks. The antler sticks are amazing. Dogs love sticks. They don't give a crap. They'll just chew on a piece of wood, which is fine, except when they bring it in your house and all that stuff. This one, when they chew on it, one, it's hard. It's kind of made of like a bony material, so it grinds their teeth down, which is kind of it's a good thing. And two, it's also got the minerals. So as they're biting and grinding on it, they're getting that mineral in their body. That mineral is very good. It's calcium and minerals and stuff like that. And antlers break off every year, and they regrow back every year. So you're also giving them something that's kind of, it's natural in a lot of ways, and it's not hurting anybody, and nothing died to give it, and so it's kind of cool that way. They got chill doggies. You want to get something when you're getting your little treat out of the fridge or freezer, well, you should have a treat you can give your dog too. You're going to make it a fun thing for both of you. And of course, if you've got a dog that's got that nasty ass breath, mutt mints. And so all these things have Coriolus versicolor in them, right? Cats, they've got fewer choices because, well, frankly, cats are difficult. I'm just going to say it. You pet it more than 3 times and it attacks you, right? You pet it twice, it'll want 1 more, and it'll freak you out and make you think it wants 5 more, and it won't. Nope, 1 more. Telling you, cats are a mystery that I will never figure out. They're much like women, as far as I'm concerned. I will never understand either of them. Never. Nope. Sometimes they sort of make sense, and then immediately they don't make any sense at all, somehow. I don't know. All said, we got some great products. I want you to go to danradiostyle.petclub247.com. That's danradiostyle.petclub247.com. Incredible products, incredible company. And again, it's American-made stuff for the most part, I think. Yeah, it's all American-made. I believe so. Anyway, it's good products. I should actually look closer at that. Anyway. They're amazing products. It's an American company, that much is for sure. But all said, you can go to danradiostyle.petclub247.com and put some Coriolus versicolor into your body or your little loved one's bodies, and it's going to help them live longer. You're going to love it. And better quality food, better quality ingredients, no lead, stuff like that. Oklahoma partners with ICE to deport 500 illegal aliens currently serving prison sentences. This is a brilliant idea for any state that's got a budget problem. Especially if how they do prison systems and stuff, if they've got budget problems in prison systems. All right, give ICE a call. Get rid of a bunch of your prisoners. Let the federal taxpayer get rid of it. Make your place better. It's going to help you out all over the place. So good job, Oklahoma. You guys are doing a bang-up job, if you will. Air Force Chief of Staff is going to retire after only 2 years in his role. This individual that, of course, the Bidens brought in. General David Alvin is going to retire in November after serving only 2 years of his 4-year term. The service was announced. Air Force revealed the surprise move in a Monday statement, noting Alvin had announced plans today to retire effective on or about November 1st. What this kind of sounds like to me, one, is a transition, but the fact that he's retiring implies to me that he's done something not right. Or he's responsible for something that's not cool or whatever. And essentially they basically said, look, here's the deal. You can either quit and we'll give you 90 days to do it, or some stuff's going to come out and we're going to fire you. So they probably took the deal. I would assume anyways. I mean, it's not immediate, but at the same time, he's not moving into some other waters. This is kind of a fail. Maybe it's just better at that point. Like, where else can he go? I don't know. Once you've been chief of staff. But I assume they have all those, like, boards in the Pentagon where you could have gotten a job probably. So I don't know, whatever. RFK Jr., the challenge. This is pretty cool. I don't know. I like this. I like that RFK Jr. and Mr. Pete Hegseth were doing this and getting others involved. And they're actually trying to call out some other members of the administration. And I was thinking about it myself. I'm like, oof, could I do this? I'll tell you what, I don't know. I could probably do it they want to do it in 10 minutes. I could maybe do it in 15. I was thinking about it. I'm like, man, your numbers would have to be like, I think I could pull off the push-ups, but 50 pull-ups I could do 100 push-ups and 50 pull-ups in 10 minutes. You can break them up however you want. You can do it however you want, but you got 10 minutes to do all of those exercises. And it's like, dang, like I could for sure do the push-ups. I know that I've done that in less than time. But pull-ups, like, oof, man, if I could do 25, I'd be stoked. Like, I mean, I could do a few for sure. But dang, it's been a little while since I've done pull-ups for that matter. But I do a lot of similar exercises, so I should have a little bit there. All said, it's pretty cool. Anyways, let's let them play.
F. Kennedy Jr. made a visit to the Pentagon to challenge Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to a push-up and pull-up competition.
That's right. The pair dubbed it the Pete and Bobby Challenge, aiming to do 100 push-ups and 50 pull-ups in 10 minutes. Wow.
Here we are in the bowels of the Pentagon for the Pete and Bobby Challenge. I think this was your idea, so I blame you. But it's all about Make America Healthy Again. We're going to be fit, not fat. We want recruits that are ready to go and challenge. What are we doing today, Bobby?
Well, Pete and I are going to do our part and encourage American youth to do this challenge. And the challenge is to do 100 push-ups and 50 pull-ups in any order you want in under 10 minutes.
Wow. Now, Hegseth narrowly beat RFK Jr. with a time of 5 minutes and 25 seconds to RFK Jr.'s 5 minutes and 48 seconds.
Wow. The pair were also joined by members of the Navy and the Marines, with a Navy sailor and a Marine completing the challenge in under 4 minutes with another Marine receiving a time of 2 minutes and 43 seconds. Wow.
Afterwards, Hegseth and RFK Jr. extended their challenge to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, as well as Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy.
The friendly matchup comes amidst RFK Jr.'s Make America Healthy Again movement. Wow, look at that.
That's pretty inspiring.
Yeah, I think so.
That's super cool. That's what that is. Super cool. Indiana woman charged in D.C. for allegedly threatening to kill Trump. Yeah, if you want a free ride in a cop car, there's how you do it. Get on social media and start making threats like this. And this is great because this stuff's not tolerated at all anymore. Used to be. But threatening the life of the president is one of the most serious crimes and one that will be met with swift and unwavering prosecution. Make no mistake, justice will be served. Judge Pirro is doing this. The lady, of course, now in U.S. District Court in D.C. So that's awesome. We also got another one of these types of stories. I thought it was the same story, but I think this is a separate one.
Hi, everyone. It's Judge Janine. I just wanted to let you know here from the United States Attorney's Office in D.C. that an individual by the name of Nathalie Rose Jones is now in custody, charged with 2 federal crimes for knowingly and willfully threatening to take the life of the President of the United States. She did come from New York to Washington, D.C., and she has been threatening and calling for the removal of the president, and even worse, as she got to D.C., her threats were on Facebook and Instagram, and she continued to call the president a terrorist and was working to have him eliminated. She is now in custody. She will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Make no mistake about that.
Boom. That's right. Make no freaking mistake.
Hi, everyone. It's Judge Janine. I just wanted to let you...
Stop it. Man, sensitive. Harmeet Dillon, 75% of the Biden's DOJ Civil Rights Division is gone. And now they're actually going to start hiring back some people. Pretty cool. She said that roughly 3/4 of the Justice Department Civil Rights Division staff have departed since she took office. She emphasized that the division's focus is shifting away from what she described as politics of racial spoils and woke ideology toward enforcing existing statutes across the wide range of areas. These include university admissions policies, employment discrimination cases involving federal contractors and grant recipients, protections for service members and their families, and statutes related to workplace rights for American citizens vis-a-vis foreign workers. So at least facing the proper problems rather than all the woke stuff and all that. So they literally got rid of 3/4 of the lawyers. I think about 200 of them took an early retirement. Another 100 resigned. Said resigned following the months. So whatever the case was, they managed to run them out, which is fantastic. New York's appellate court reportedly split over the Trump civil fraud judgment. This is a trip. So some of us have definitely expressed some frustration with the ridiculous delay in the appellate court review of the absurd civil judgment against Donald Trump. It appears to have entered some judicial black hole where neither light nor an opinion can escape. Now, the Wall Street Journal claims that it is due to a deeply divided panel, and a column titled "Court Split Leaves Trump's Civil Fraud Appeal Stuck in Slow Lane." This should not be a closed case, and certainly should not take this long. The case against Trump was raw lawfare, and the entire trial by Justice Arthur Engoron made a mockery of the court system, particularly his ridiculous $500 million judgment. Yet, weeks turned into months and then into years as the appellate court seemed lost in navel-gazing. There was also a concern over passive-aggressive delays. The long appeal is not only preventing Trump from moving this case towards the Supreme Court, but keeps him trapped in an appellate amber. Neat writing. I don't know if that's Melissa writing that or if that's from the article by Tyler. But I think either way, beautiful writing. I like that. Congress receives its first batch of Epstein files this week. They're supposed to. I don't think they have received them yet. Receives is kind of an interesting way to phrase that. Will receive, I guess. But nonetheless, Friday they're supposed to start getting the documents. Now, this article calls out the 19th being a deadline. The place where we have Comer talking about it. He doesn't mention anything about the deadline, but here's the 24 seconds of him talking about it anyways.
We're having really good conversations. You have to understand you can imagine how many documents there are. I think that we're going to have I think we'll receive the documents very soon. They're compiling everything together. I think we're working together in a good faith effort. and everything's coming along. I expect to receive the documents very, very soon.
Yes, very, very soon. And so we'll see. We'll see what they are. And they're talking like there's a lot of them. We'll see. Bill Barr testified that he did not see any info that would implicate Trump, which is also interesting. He said, quote, he said that he had never seen anything that would implicate President Trump in any of this, and that he believed that there had been anything pertaining to President Trump with respect to the Epstein list, that he felt like the Biden administration would probably have leaked it out. This is what Comer told a reporter when they were talking about the Barr's testimony. So Bill Barr even testified basically, I don't think there's nothing I saw, and if there was anything, it would have already come out. Everyone knows that. So anything that might come out was some weird, hidden, sneaky stuff that likely got put in there, or stuff that's just so like on the edge or fringe, if you will, which is oddly self-promoting. Pam Bondi and Kash Patel tapped Missouri AG as additional FBI co-deputy director alongside Bongino. This is interesting to me. Now, I don't know, and any of you guys feel free to, throw it out there, but I don't know. Does the FBI have a lot of co-deputy directors? I mean, they could, I guess, maybe, right? I do find it interesting that we've got two co-directors, or co-deputies, and one of the co-deputies made a bunch of noise recently, and apparently said either Bondi goes or I go, and was really pissed off about the Epstein stuff. And probably some of the other stuff they've seen, that I'm sure there's a lot of corruption that's probably just disgusting and makes you want to throw up. And not being able to do anything about it like you would typically have, which would be go to a microphone and start talking about it, is probably frustrating. So I can appreciate Dan Bongino's pain. Also, Dan Bongino probably took a huge pay cut and is probably bummed about that. Right? He probably misses what he used to do. So I'm wondering, is this a way for him to be replaced in a weird kind of way? Is this a way for, I don't know. Is it common to have more than one co-deputy? And it's something I could have looked up, but I could have asked ChatGPT, but whatever. We'll get there. We'll figure it out. But it is an interesting turn of events. The gentleman is this guy, Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey, if maybe you didn't know, name to the face to the name. Don't know why he's such a good choice. Frankly, I didn't do any digging on him. Attorney General launched anti-human trafficking task force. Maybe he's going to be able to focus on a particular area. This is what I was hoping. Like, if I'm wrong about the conspiracy side of it, hopefully it's just a way to kind of divide and conquer. Let Bongino work on the part he wants to work on, which maybe is the child trafficking stuff, and then maybe let this other guy handle some of the other stuff. Maybe he would be more geared towards those. Like maybe he's got more of a legal background. Something to that effect. Thrilled to welcome Bailey at the FBI. He has served as a distinguished state attorney general and is a decorated war veteran. Yeah, so he's bringing a different set of skills to the table, I feel like. He's got a lot of that legal background, when Bongino's got more of the in the field, Secret Service, all that background, right? So got the cop part of it nailed down. I mean, this guy was in the Army, so he gets war fighting, which is pretty cool, right? So I don't know, a lot of interesting stuff, and maybe it's just multiple co-defendants, right? I'm not trying to make a bigger deal out of this. I just, again, thought it was interesting. Seems like there's other positions I could have filled just the same, but meh. Senior Israeli official arrested in Vegas pedophile sting is released almost immediately and flies home. So, of course, it was denied by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, reflexively denied Alexandrovich's what he's done anything wrong, claiming that the employee, who does not hold a diplomatic visa, was not arrested and returned to Israel as scheduled. Now, so they say he doesn't have a diplomatic visa, which now diplomatic immunity makes me think of Lethal Weapon 2. But this dude is an official in Israel's cybersecurity agency. And he was arrested in Las Vegas for allegedly attempting to use the internet to lure a child into sexual abuse, only to be released on a bond and somehow allowed to go back to Israel. What I think a bunch of people don't get is he was either A, doing what he was supposed to be doing, or B, he's got above diplomatic immunity, and yeah, they can't touch him. Can't put him in jail for nothing. And I'm sure immediately the consulate got a hold of whoever the hell had him in custody and said, yeah, you've got to let him out immediately. Get him on a plane, get him immediately to the airport, and we're going to fly him home. So this wasn't a choice they had to say, and it's not something that Trump, I think, has to fall on a grenade for. But this is kind of how those relationships seem to work. And this guy is probably far enough up the food chain to either it could be one of three things, I guess. A, he's a total perv, very possible. B, he was actually trying to work on some honeypot thing, like Epstein type stuff, right? Or C, I don't know. I don't even know what C was. Whatever you think it is. That's what C is. That one. I guess I can't count. Yeah, I don't know. Pretty scary. A lot of people are going to make some noise about that one. They're spinning it in an interesting direction. I don't approve of it per se, but I get it. I think. I'm pretty sure I understand why they sent him home. And diplomatic immunity supersedes everything. I mean, everything. There's no, but this is kids. It's like, doesn't matter. They could literally punch a baby in front of you, and there's nothing you can do about it. DNI Tulsi Gabbard said over the past few months, I've been working closely with our partners in the UK, alongside POTUS and Vice President Vance, to ensure Americans' private data remains private and our constitutional rights and civil liberties are protected. As a result, the UK has agreed to drop its mandate for Apple to provide a backdoor that would have enabled access to the protected, encrypted data of American citizens and encroached on our civil liberties. They literally wanted backdoor stuff to American citizens' devices. What this is the deep state's attempt to use Five Eyes to come into these American companies and get into people's phones. And they don't want your phone or my phone. They want the higher up people's phones. They want the people they can get in trouble, right? They can get their text messages and all that stuff and find out what they've done that's wrong that they can hold over their head. It's control. It's what they wanted. And this we fought, and the way they've displayed it publicly is kind of cool. And yeah, Apple, England's a little pissy about it. They've quote-unquote dropped the demand. One British official said the issue was settled, while another said the UK government caved to American pressure. A third UK official said, we can't and we won't force Apple to break its encryption. Yeah, they have no right to. So you have no right to information of other countries' individual phones. It's like, I don't care what you're trying to do, who you think. Well, we're just trying to monitor the internet of the world. Well, you do it with your people. I get it. Your people, yeah, friggin' monitor the hell out of them. They've been putting up with it for eons, and you don't even let them talk anymore. But you're certainly not going to tell other sovereign countries what they can do. And that was a big part of the argument. That's like it affects our sovereignty. Trump supposedly got involved. The hint is, he hasn't come out and said that, so the hint is that Trump got involved, talked to CARE, and basically said, look, this isn't going to happen, and if you guys keep pushing this, you're going to leave me no option but, bad options. So they dropped it. Bolivia is booting its ruling leftists after 20 years in power. Again, this commonality of everybody starting to move more towards the center. We're calling it conservative, but conservative really is just the center nowadays, or where the center was anyway. And so, yeah, socialism is being defeated in Bolivia. I think they're getting slightly ahead of themselves. Just because you put in a good president doesn't mean your problems are over. So says someone living through that experience currently. On the road to a hyperstate. So the EU Commission circumvents its own financing rules. I didn't want to spend a bunch of time on this, but long story short-ish, if I can. So Article 310 of this European agreement that they signed eons ago, it regulates the EU budget. It says revenues and expenditures must be balanced every year, and the budget may only be financed through own resources such as member contributions, tariffs, or approved revenues. Independent loans by the EU Commission exceeding the approved framework are prohibited. What has majorly changed today is they are now doing bonds. They are now taking loans of which they're forcing their member states to pay. They are breaking their own rules. Now, the EU is essentially trying to create itself as like a United States of Europe, if you will, but they're doing it in a very weird way. Rather than the country kind of forming and then states sort of being created after, they've got a situation where the states were already created, and then someone above that decided, I want us all to be together, and I want you all to pay us money so we can rule you. Basically what the European Union is. in a nutshell. And we've obviously seen that they take away the state's ability to make their own decisions, which is, I would say, not cool as well. Now, I did have this picture. I was going to use this for the thumbnail. I just didn't know I had the picture. I was like trying to find it. I just did a poor job. European leader rallies around Zelensky despite spending more on Russian energy than Ukraine aid. It is just funny. I wanted to point that out. These guys are all like, Ukraine, Ukraine, we love Ukraine. But of Europe, they are one of the largest purchasers of Russian energy. It's funny the way the world plays out, needless to say. We have some more of them talking about this. I'm going to play about 2-ish minutes of this, but apparently the United States is going to be buying a stake in Intel. And at first when I saw this story, I'm like, this is stupid. This can't be real. And then I saw it again in another site, so that's where I'm at. And I'm like, all right, frig it, so let's check this out. And sure as shit, we're apparently going to spend the money that Biden put aside for this CHIPS Act thing. Put this money, it's already spent, basically, already earmarked or whatever. So instead of just giving it to Intel to do whatever the hell they want with, hopefully make chips here, which is what they're supposed to be doing, right? Make our own chips here. But actually, they were like, look, here's the thing. If the United States are going to invest into you and give you a bunch of money to do something, well, then we should get something in return. And that's what he's talking about.
Let's talk more about the possibility of this government stake with the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, who joins us, I believe, this morning from Washington. Morning, Mr. Secretary. Good to see you.
Good morning. Nice to see you guys.
Can you help us understand sort of the calculus behind this move?
Sure. So for national security, we need to make our own chips here. We cannot rely on Taiwan, which is 9,500 miles away from us and only 80 miles from China. So you can't have 99% of leading edge chips made in Taiwan. We want to make them here. So that's a key part of our initiative. That's part of the deal we did with Japan. That's part of the deal we did with Korea, to have the infrastructure and economic capacity to build those chips in America. And of course, one of those pieces is it would be lovely to have Intel be capable of making a U.S. node or a U.S. transistor, driving that in America. That would be lovely. That's not necessary. But as I said, that would be a really good thing to have, would be American participant in the semiconductor space.
So, Mr. Secretary, how do you view then the CHIPS Act funds that have yet to be committed but have been promised, and the idea that that might be then converted to an equity stake? Is that how we should view it, that ultimately that's what you're talking to Intel about right now?
Yes. I mean, the president figures out that America should get the benefit of the bargain. I mean, that is exactly Donald Trump's perspective, which is, why are we giving a company worth $100 billion this kind of money? What is in it for the American taxpayer? And the answer Donald Trump has is, we should get an equity stake for our money. So we'll deliver the money, which was already committed under the Biden administration. We'll get equity in return for it, get a good return for the American taxpayer, instead of just giving grants away. Donald Trump views we should get benefits for the economics that we put out.
Heck yeah. So that's cool. And as you can see, it obviously was affecting the stock prices of Intel today. Not a big surprise. U.S. economy maintains its high S&P credit rating. Analysts find Trump's tariffs have apparently offset his tax cuts. So we've kept our credit rating. That's pretty awesome. So again, Trump is doing a lot of good stuff in the big picture. He is keeping us where we should be. Obviously, the stocks and stock market, I was expecting, it was up slightly earlier today, I thought. Well, no, NASDAQ's been down all day. S&P, wow, interesting. Dow was up. That's the one that was up. Yeah, gold's down a teeny bit, still 33.60, and I think silver was down a little as well, 37.50 right now. Interesting. Oh, yeah, that still seems to be accurate. Very cool. Yeah, so again, a lot happening, and Trump is playing a part. There's a lot of discussion that's going on about the stock market right now. Many people are tripping on it. First off, The whole idea that the narrative of how Russia or how the war kind of was supposed to cause the stock market to crash, it never really did. And then now they're like, well, since there's peace, that's going to drive the economy, because when there's peace, that means there's growth. And that's probably not going to be true. So there's all this nonsense that they keep telling us to try to explain what's actually happening, which is we're in this enormous bubble right now, giant bubble. And all the experts are like rubbing their eyes and scratching their heads and going, I don't know what's up, but we are so overvalued in many cases. They said, take the Buffett indicator. It's sitting around 200% of GDP, more than 2 standard deviations above its long-term average. The last time it got anywhere near this level was the dot-com boost, or peak, I should say, in 2000, and again in 2021, COVID. So that's when it gets overvalued. On almost every objective measure, the market is not just expensive, it's wildly overvalued. June 30th data from currentmarketvaluation.com doesn't just say overvalued, it says strongly overvalued. CAPE ratio tells the same story. Hovering in the mid-30s today, more than 2 standard deviations above its mean. The only other times it has reached these levels were in 1929 and the year 2000, and we all know how those chapters ended. Spoiler, not with soft landings in champagne. The price-to-sales ratio is equally stretched, at more than 3 standard deviations above trend. The market is literally off the charts. That level of multiple expansion has never been sustained. Every time it has gotten this far, whether 2000 or 2021, it has unwound violently. Also, the mean reversion model, which plots the S&P 500 against its inflation-adjusted exponential trend line, has the index more than 3 standard deviations above where history says it should be. The last time it hit that level, late 2021, right before a 25% drawdown in 2022. The last time before that, 2000, which needs no introduction as well. Everything that's going on right now suggests we've got a problem in the stock market, except the stock market itself. Now, they want something, I think, that they can blame it on Trump, and I don't think they're going to get it. Trump is setting everything up to help us rebound quickly. Europe is failing big time. European Union's going to fail. England has a possible chance. I think some of these other countries will definitely have a chance because they're getting smart about what they're doing. Just to point out, a little fun blast from the past. Back in 1971, the lies from on high, which are nothing new to any sophisticated and critically thinking citizen, were at full swing. Nixon got on live TV and promised us the decoupling was only temporary. Sound familiar? And that your dollar will be worth just as much tomorrow as today. But the fibbing did not just start or end there. Prior to the decoupling of August 15th, the Treasury Secretary and Fed officials were making the case that gold was actually holding the dollar down, and that decoupling gold would strengthen the dollar going forward, while gold's value would, in fact, fall. Facts from the math. A little fact-checking may prove a smirk here. First, the decoupling from gold has lasted more than half a century, so it hardly feels temporary. As for the USD holding its purchasing power, well, when measured against a milligram of gold, that paper dollar has lost over 99% of its value since 1971. That's called inflation. Meanwhile, and contrary to expert hearing testimony of the 1971 Fed chairman and Treasury Secretary, gold has not gone down in price, but has risen by, 8,000% since then. It is protection. It is protection that will protect what little wealth you have right now. This is the thing. Inflation every single day whittles away the value of your wealth. Sure, the stock market's up really high right now, totally overvalued by every assessment. And you're losing value on the dollar every day. Precious metals hold that value. They said what you could buy for an ounce of gold back at the 1900s, you could get a fully tailored suit. And I think gold cost, I forget what it was, like $20, whatever it was. Like an ounce of gold was like $20, $25, something like that. Back at around 1900, you could get a fully tailored suit. Today, it costs about $3,500, and basically what it costs for a fully tailored suit. 1 ounce of gold still holds the value of the gold itself, not the dollar. Because again, this thing was worth $25 or whatever back then. That same $25 is now equivalent to $3,500. So the dollars have completely lost value. This hasn't. You can still buy with this what you could then. The trick is when you get this. Do you wait until it's too late and everything's expensive and the dollar's worth less and less and less and less? Or do you get it before the dollar completely loses all of its value? Do you get it while the dollar still has some value that hasn't been stripped away from it yet? Do you get it while the stock market's still high? Because this is, if you've got a 401k or an IRA, this is what we're talking about primarily. You can get out tax-free, penalty-free. You can get out quickly. Goldco's awesome. They've got, I think, DocuSign and everything. All right, make sure you read all your docs, so understand what you're doing, understand what you're getting into, and read about it. You're going to get your free kit, your gold and silver kit. You're going to learn. You're going to get up to 10% free silver of the face value of what you transfer over. Tax-free, penalty-free. It's physical, precious metals with your name on them, and you literally can say, hey, send me those metals. Now, when they do that, or if they do that, that's payment, and it gets created as payment. Whatever the value of gold and silver is at that moment that they're sending it to you, that's your payment, and you pay fees and taxes on that. So if you leave it in the trust, well, then you can continue to add to it if you want, or you can keep paying into your regular 401k if you want, but get as much of the value out while you can. There's discussion that the Fed's going to lower rates coming up in September. I was reading some excellent articles today that suggest that's probably not going to happen. In fact, that would likely only help the rich, because the rich are the ones that have assets. The rich are the ones that can really take advantage of that lower interest rate and buy more assets or better assets or refinance assets. Poor people can't do that. Poor people pay rent. Poor people can't do that. If you're in a 401k or an IRA, you're already head and shoulders above a lot of people in this nation because you've actually owned stocks in a technical way. You can get out of that. You can diversify at least out of that into precious metals and hold that value. No matter what happens, the value of the gold that you get and silver that you get will still be valuable. You'll still be able to get something with it, the same something that you can currently get with it now. It just might be worth a different dollar amount, might be worth a different type of dollar. Who knows? Go to drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com. Get out of that system while you can. Because the second that stock market takes that 40-day plunge, a 40% plunge, or whatever it's going to be, some say maybe worse, I don't know. The second that happens, you don't want to sell then. You're kind of screwed at that point. The much hyped tech, and by the way, and it's still attached to the dollar, which sucks. I didn't talk about this intentionally because I knew they were trying to hype this, but there was this measles thing that was going on in Texas. It's now officially over. There has not been one measles outbreak since July 1st. They apparently did have about 762 cases. I mean, considering how many millions of people live in Texas, it's not that many. Considering how many illegal people come across the border that have probably not been vaccinated for measles is also, probably plays a part into that. Whatever. That's gone away. Knowing that the deep state still got their ways to get their information out, or another way to put it is demonstrating that the American Academy of Pediatrics apparently has deep ties to the pharmaceutical industry, because on August 19th, they recommended that many young children receive a COVID-19 vaccine diverging from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention immunization schedule. That's pretty crazy stuff that they're doing there. So again, yeah, it's strange that they're going against what the CDC suggests, I would say. Donald Trump truthed this out. I had a very good meeting with distinguished guests, President Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine, President Emmanuel Macron of France, President Alexander Stubb of Finland, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni of Italy, Prime Minister Keir Starmer of the United Kingdom, Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany, Friedrich Merz, President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, and Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte, in the White House, which ended in a further meeting in the Oval Office. During the meeting, we discussed security guarantees for Ukraine, which guarantees would be provided by various European countries with a coordination with the United States of America. Everyone is very happy about the possibility of peace for Russia and Ukraine. At the conclusion of the meetings, I called President Putin and began the arrangements for a meeting at a location to be determined between President Putin and President Zelensky. After that meeting takes place, we will have a trilat, which would be the two presidents plus myself. Again, this was a very good early step for a war that has been going on for almost 4 years. Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff are coordinating with Russia and Ukraine. Thank you for your attention to this matter. It definitely sounds like we are making progress. Here's them trying to get their little photo op. I really am tripping on how short Maloney is. It kind of cracks me up. She's a little fireball. She keeps showing up too, making funny facial gestures. People keep calling it eye rolling. I think she was literally staring up at something at the ceiling, but I don't know. She looked like she was high. That's what she looked like to me.
Anybody says anything?
So there you go. There's your big picture, right? There you go. Ursula von der Leyen. Whatever. Trump pledges no U.S. troops in Ukraine. 0. We're putting no boots on the ground. He did clarify that he would likely do something to the effect of aerial help, like with air cover, essentially. He definitely said it can't be NATO. That's in there. That's a no-no. So from the standpoint of security, there's going to be some European leaders that are going to be involved in this. Could very well be people like Turkey and certain leaders that are kind of considered a little more neutral, maybe. Who knows? I don't know how they're going to play this out. I'm sure some of the regular European NATO members are going to want to be a part of this on the ground, but it shouldn't be NATO countries, because then that would make it a NATO war, which is what NATO wants. All right? Deep State wants that. I think Trump gets that. So he's like, no, we can't put any boots on the ground that are NATO, because if something happens to them, we're not going to a world war. But they're like, come on, that's what we wanted all along anyway. We've got bunkers we can go to. We don't care about these people. So we'll see what happens. Here, Donald Trump had a wonderful little conversation with Fox News, and I'm probably going to play it at 1.25 if that's an option. Check it out.
Mr. President, thanks so much for joining Fox and Friends this morning.
Good morning. That's quite a crew. That's quite a crew.
Well, Mr. President, the whole world was watching yesterday as you got leaders from the European Union, NATO, as well, from all over the world. How did you get them to Washington, to the Oval Office, so fast?
Well, I think really they have respect for our country again. A year ago, they wouldn't have come. They wouldn't have even thought about it. Now, we've become the hottest country anywhere in the world. Everybody wants to be here. When I made the call, they came. And they said there's really never been anything like it. You'd have one president or one prime minister, but there's never been, such a group. And these really represent the European nations, these people. And they're very good people, and they want to end the war, that horrible war with Ukraine and Russia. It's a horrible war.
It was such a sense of unity, and we all enjoyed watching it because America is on top. And it was on your turf, on your terms. I know yesterday you talked about arranging a meeting to take place in 2 weeks between Putin and Zelensky. Is there an update there, and do you plan to attend?
No, I thought I'd do first let them meet. They haven't been exactly best friends. They haven't gotten along very well. And I called President Putin yesterday, and I do have a good relationship. But it only matters if we get things done. Otherwise, I don't care about the relationship. I do have a good relationship with him, but I want to get things done. I've solved 7 wars. We ended 7 wars. I thought this would be one of the easier ones, and this has turned out to be the toughest one. India, Pakistan. These were big ones, and also. All big ones, and some going for 31, 32 years, one for 35 years. The Congo, think of that, the Congo and Rwanda for 35 years. I got that one done. I got them all done, but this one is the one that is the most difficult, and I thought it would be an easy one. So I hope President Putin is going to be good, and if he's not, it's going to be a rough situation. And I hope that President Zelensky will do what he has to do. He has to show some flexibility also. The thing is a mess. This was started by Joe Biden. This was a war that should have never happened. Millions of people are dead. The country's blown to pieces, Ukraine, and it's a shame. My wife Melania wrote that beautiful note to President Putin about children. The children are devastated. They're taken away from their homes. The whole thing. And this is a war that would have never, ever, ever happened if we had a real president.
So, Mr. President, it's been barely a week since you announced that first meeting in Alaska, and it's just been days since that meeting, and then you had the meeting yesterday. In the course of having these negotiations, what has surprised you the most between Zelensky and Putin in terms of their strength or weakness of their position right now?
Well, I think the fact that maybe they're getting along a little bit better than I thought. Otherwise, I wouldn't have set up the 2 meeting. I would have set up the 3, a trilat. But I think they're doing a little bit better. There's been tremendous bad blood. And again, this was all worked out by an administration that didn't have a clue. And if you remember, they said, well, if you made a minor incursion, that would be okay. That was the end. The whole thing when Biden made that statement. But minor incursion, what does that mean? So I think they're doing okay. I wouldn't say they are ever going to be best friends, but they're doing okay. And we're just going to see. So we're setting up a meeting. I sort of set it up with Putin and Zelensky. And, you know, they're the ones that have to call the shots. We're 7,000 miles away, in all fairness. You know, we've spent through the previous administration $350 billion. Europe has spent a lot, also $100 billion, but it should be reversed if we should have been in for anything. But it wouldn't have happened, so that would have been much better because so many people died. This is the biggest bad situation since World War II. There's been nothing even close.
So, Mr. President, I know you've been doing deals your entire life when it comes to real estate deals, but this was something a little different. The thing that is surprising a lot of people is when it comes to the security guarantees. I know President Putin said no NATO, and you said, you know what, we're just going to take it off the table. But you did get President Putin to agree to NATO-like protections. So tell us about that. What does that entail?
Well, the war really started over NATO and Crimea, and they wanted Crimea back. That was given, not a shot fired by President Obama in perhaps the worst real estate deal I've ever seen. There's been a couple of them. I would say the Gaza Strip was a pretty bad one, too, given by Israel so they'd have peace. So they gave away a big percentage of their oceanfront property in order to have peace. How did that work out? Not so good. And Crimea is the apple of Ukraine. I mean, it's so beautiful. And Obama gave it away. Nobody ever mentions that. If I ever did that, the fake news would be writing about me day and night for years. He gave it away. He demanded that they let it go, and Russia came in and took it, just took it like from a candy from a baby. And it was really Obama's. Not really. I mean, that was pure and simple. Obama's fault. What a terrible thing he did to that country. And so they lost their heart. They lost the heart and soul of the Ukraine 14 years ago, whatever it might be. And it was so unnecessary to do that. And that's when it really began, when Obama gave it away. And then you had a lot of other events, but you have, tremendous hostility. The people of Ukraine were mortified when that took place. That really began a lot of hatred when they gave it. And they didn't have to. Not a shot was fired. They just took over the most valuable piece and the biggest piece in the sense of, and surrounded on 4 sides by ocean, just a little passage to get you back onto the mainland. The most beautiful piece of property you've ever seen as a real estate developer. I look at it, I said, why the heck did he do that to them? And so there's great hostility, and maybe rightfully so. But one thing was NATO. They went in, they said, we want you, we want to get Crimea back. This was at the beginning. Now, Putin, in all fairness to him, he made a good deal. He got it from Obama. But they said we want it back, and that was not exactly well received because it was like 12 years before. That's where Russia has its submarine base, and, that's been there long before Putin. They've been there for a long time, but long before Putin. And the other thing they said is we want to be a member of NATO. Well, both of those things are impossible because, again, long before Putin, it was a no-no by Russia or the Soviet Union or anything you want to call it. Sort of a similar thing as it gets larger, but very similar. But it was always a no-no. You could not. Russia said we don't want the so-called opponent or the enemy, let's use that term, we don't want them on our border. And they were right. They were okay. And yet they went in and they asked, with the United States, they said, put us into NATO. And everybody knew you just can't do that. They would never have agreed to it. This is before Putin. This is long before Putin. It was just a no-no. It was something that was never going to happen. So they asked for it, and they shouldn't have asked for it because it was, very insulting thing. Now, they could have asked for many other things. But the other thing they wanted to do is getting Crimea back, and, that was given. They had built, they were expanding everything and spending a lot of money, all because Barack Hussein Obama gave it away in one of the dumbest real estate deals I've ever seen.
But, Mr. President, you got the Article 5 protections, though, for Ukraine. So they're not going to be a part of NATO, but you still got them the same protection.
So they're not going to be a part of NATO, but we've got the European nations, and they'll front-load it, and they'll have some of them, France and Germany, a couple of them, UK. They want to have, boots on the ground. Not in. I don't think it's going to be a problem, to be honest with you. I think Putin is tired of it. I think they're all tired of it. But you never know. We're going to find out about President Putin in the next couple of weeks. That I can tell you. And we're going to see where it all goes. It's possible that he doesn't want to make a deal. I always said, you interviewed me, Lawrence, and I think Charlie also. Lawrence, I hate to tell you, Charlie was about the first person in the world to endorse me. He endorsed me about a year before I ran. And that's why he called me this morning, sir, would you do an interview? And unlike Biden, I don't need permission from my staff, okay? And then only to be told that I'm not doing it. But Charlie endorsed me about a year before, I think, and he puts it up on his site. It's still, I checked this, it's still on his site. I endorsed President Trump before he even ran. So I always like a guy like that, I must tell you, Now, Lawrence is going to be a superstar, but he was a little later to the game. Well,
it's a lot more crowded these days than it was back then. But, Mr. President, what kind of assurances do you feel like you have that going forward and, past this Trump administration, it won't be American boots on the ground defending that border?
Well, you have my assurance. I'm president, and I'm just trying to stop people from being killed, Charlie. Look, they're losing from 5,000 to 7,000 people a week in that ridiculous war that should have never happened. If we had a normal president, not even a great president, if we had a normal president, it wouldn't have happened. But we had a guy that didn't have a clue. And they're losing, think of it, 5,000 to 7,000 a week. So even these guys, they'll say, okay, let's meet next week. I said, you can't meet next week. Next week, you're going to have 7,000 more dead people. You can't do that. You got to get this thing done. One of the things at the table was one of the gentlemen, who's a great guy, but he said, I hope I didn't insult him. He said, well, let's meet in another month or two, and let's see if we can start, making some. I said, a month or two, you're going to have another 40,000 people dead in a month or two. You have to do it tonight. And I did, actually. I called President Putin, and we're trying to work out a meeting with President Zelensky. We'll see what happens there. And then if it works out, then I'll go to the trilat and close it up.
Oh, that'd be good. Mr. President, did y'all discuss any land swaps yesterday? Because we've talked a lot about the Donbass region. And what was the feeling in the room? What did the other leaders say about this?
Well, they understand. Look, everybody can play cute and this and that, but, Ukraine's going to get their life back. They're going to stop having people killed all over the place, and they're going to get a lot of land. But this was a war, and Russia is a powerful military nation. Whether people like it or not, it's a powerful nation. It's a much bigger nation. It's not a war that should have been started. You don't do that. You don't take on a nation that's 10 times your size. And military experts look. If it wasn't for the greatest military equipment, we make the greatest military equipment in the world, and we gave them, whatever they took, probably a lot of money too. But they had tremendous. They had the Patriot missile, which is the best in the world. All the equipment, we make the best equipment in the world by far. Everyone else is like nothing. So we gave them a lot of equipment. Now, with that said, the Ukrainian soldiers were brave as hell because they're fighting a force that's much, much bigger and, in theory, much more powerful. And it's not like they've stopped. I assume you've all seen the map. A big chunk of territory is taken, and that territory has been taken. Now they're talking about Donbass, but Donbass right now, as you know, is 79% owned and controlled by Russia. So they understand what that means.
Mr. President, what did the other leaders tell you? Because it seemed to be, this is unlike the first Trump term. There was great unity that was there, and we saw their public comments. But when you got them in the Oval Office, and we have this photo of you sitting at the Resolute desk, and all of these world leaders are sitting in front of you. What did they say to you privately? Because it looked like they're on the same page as you, sir. Yeah,
they are. They're very good people. They're very good leaders of their countries. And they want to get back to leading their country. They're consumed far more with this than we are because they're right there. We have an ocean that's separating us, right? Thing called an ocean, a big, beautiful ocean. And they don't. They're right there. So they have to, it's a different kind of a thing for them. When it comes to security, they're willing to put people on the ground. We're willing to help them with things, especially probably if you could talk about by air because nobody has the kind of stuff we have. Really, they don't have. But I don't think it's going to be a problem. I think if a deal is made, famous last words, right? But I think if a deal is made, I think Russia's had it. They've all had it. And for a very extended period of time, I don't think there'll be a problem. But there'll be some form of security. It can't be NATO because that's just not something that would ever happen. They couldn't do that. So who would want that? I mean, if you were Russia, who would want to have your enemy, your opponent, sitting on your line? You don't do that. So it was always thought that Ukraine was sort of a buffer between Russia and the rest of Europe. And it was a big, wide buffer. Everything worked out well until Biden got involved. When Biden gave them $100 billion right up front, I don't give them anything. I don't know if you know it, but since I've been there, we don't pay. First of all, I made a deal to take rare earth. That's the equivalent of much more than the $350 billion that Biden got away, because I felt so foolish. It was so stupid what he did. And I was able to make a deal with Ukraine, and they were
a huge deal. So, again, lots happened, obviously. I thought it was fascinating, the discussion of Crimea and how that happened. So that's going to be a fun little point that we can make with many of the people we talk to that are on the opposing side. No, you shouldn't have anything. You give it all back. Well, it's like, well, Obama gave him Crimea. What do you think about that? I didn't know that. Oh, well, yeah, he did that. So that's one of those things that I think is going to help play into this. Kremlin has released new details. President Donald Trump's phone call with the Russian President Vladimir Putin, describing the conversation as frank and highly constructive. So even Putin is speaking positively about this. Russia handed over the remains of 1,000 troops to Ukraine. Putin aid has put this out, so that's kind of cool. That's nice. 1,000 deceased bodies. What else we got? Ukraine's energy ministry was hit today. They attacked some energy facilities in central Ukraine, so Russia is still attacking. They haven't gotten a ceasefire yet. It is what it is, though. Trump has been officially invited to Russia. Putin asked Trump in person to his face whether or not that's going to happen, whether that's maybe where the trilat happens. We'll see. I like how they have bilateral. They were talking about the bilateral, but trilat they shorten. Why don't they trilateral? I don't understand. Anyway, trilat. It's cool. It's like a latte, but better. So we'll see what happens and see when Trump goes to Moscow. I don't think he's done that since his last president. I don't know if he did that last time. I don't know. I feel like he might have went there. Yeah, they're there. First time they met in person. First time was in Anchorage, Alaska as well. Yeah, because it's close to him, and it's not trying to fly over all of Russia to get in there, because that's a little sketch. As the president of you're flying over your enemy's territory, if you will. Like any number of crazies could be out there with missiles that could try to shoot you down. It's just not a good idea. Putin pressures Israel to transfer a sprawling Christian site in Jerusalem to Russia. I found this to be a fascinating, interesting story. So Alexander's Courtyard, 1,300 square meters, located near the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Probably saying that wrong, but it's in the Christian Quarter. It's currently front and center of an intense ownership dispute. It has been for a long time, apparently. Way back in the day, this was supposedly Russia's compound. The Orthodox Church had a little place over there. This is one of the holiest parts of the world. And so they had a church. The site, simply called the Russian Compound, includes the Orthodox Church of St. Alexander Nevsky, named after the 13th century Russian warrior prince, and has been at the heart of a long-running legal and diplomatic conflict between Israel and Russia. I found that to be fascinating. I'm sure a lot of people will be like, "There's no way they get it." I don't know. It's theirs. I don't know if it should be their territory per se. Maybe it was. It would be interesting to have this small little Vatican size area that's Russian territory over there, but everything's carved up arbitrarily anyway. What's the difference? Mike Benz put this out. It's a shocking statistic that many of us don't know. U.S. aid more than doubled its spending in Brazil after Bolsonaro won their election in 2018. Not because Brazil needed more aid. Nope. The money was spent on projects to Brazil to undermine Bolsonaro. U.S. aid. We were a huge part of the overthrow of Bolsonaro. This is why that money has stopped. And it's causing problems all over the place. And we are still sort of seeing some of these people fall when their lack of money has happened. Here's my wonderful sort of girlfriend, secretly, Alice Tang. She's a cutie. Anywho, she's talking about Taiwan and their reaction to Trump and the conversation he talked about he had with Xi. I think she even says it. I don't know how to pronounce Chinese. It's so horrible. But Xi Jinping, needless to say, whatever. He said he wouldn't invade Taiwan while Trump was president. There you go. Could have made that shorter, but nah, where's the fun in that? Alice Tang, take it away.
More reaction to President Trump's recent comments about China and Taiwan. Trump said Friday that he spoke with Chinese Communist leader Xi Jinping about the democratic nation state. Xi told Trump he would not invade the island while Trump is in office. Now Taiwan is responding, saying today that it must rely on itself for its security.
And in recent years, China has repeatedly challenged the rules-based international order and has seriously undermined democracy, freedom, human rights, the rule of law, and even fair trade. This has also alerted the international community. At present, more and more countries are emphasizing that the Taiwan Strait is an international water.
Taiwan says it has been closely monitoring high-level interactions between the United States and China, and that it will continue to work with countries with major interests in the Indo-Pacific region to maintain peace, stability, and prosperity in the Taiwan Strait. Taiwan says it is committed to improving its self-defense capabilities and resilience. The United States is Taiwan's most important international backer and arms supplier, although there are no formal diplomatic ties. It is bound by law to provide Taiwan with the means to defend itself in the event of an attack.
There you go. So we are tied to Taiwan in some way, and certainly they don't want Trump there if that were to happen, because it ain't going to happen. NVIDIA is developing a new AI chip for China that outperforms the H20 chip that they want. I'm wondering if they're planning on putting a backdoor in that one and just seeing if China ever figures it out, because the H20 is known to have a backdoor. I think that's the main reason why China's like, we're not buying that chip. No. And so they're talking about maybe developing a new one. It's still not going to be their best equipment, but it will be better than the H20. Beijing lab builds pocket-sized air and missile defense powerhouse. I just for some reason think this is kind of funny. So they're pointing out this story, and I don't know why. I would assume it's to the American government, that they've somehow figured out how to do something that they've been doing, like they stole this technology or figured it out or whatever the case is. I feel like they're intentionally trying to tell the United States government, we figured out how to do this. You're bummed. Now, does this just extend the detection range? It can, maybe, sure. I mean, I'm not going to say it doesn't. Of course, it probably does. It probably makes this thing more sensitive, or where it's capable of sending a stronger beam out to a further range and get a return back. So, that could be very much a part of that. I kind of wondered if it enhanced its ability to see stealth. That was kind of what I was wondering. I feel like there's something hidden in this story that most people that don't know classified stuff probably don't know about. So that was a little weird hunch I got on this one, is, like it allows them to do something that the United States knows they can now do, but most normal people don't. Because I can't imagine it's just like, we figured out how to make radar better. Here's how we did it. No, you stole it from somebody if you're doing that. I swear this looks like a bird strike situation, because there's a ton of birds around this thing. But man, this Boeing plane, and once again, Boeing, and the problem on the plane is the engine. Boeing doesn't make engines. Boeing contracts out to GE or Rolls-Royce. I believe those are the only two. And they contract out to them. Their engines are made by them. Their engines are maintained by the airlines. Boeing has nothing to do with the engines. Yet, we've been seeing a lot of engine stuff and Boeing's name getting thrown into it. Like, that's the first word. Boeing. Why are they slamming Boeing so hard? They're the ones that got the X-47, or the F-47 project, which says something. I mean, they're supposed to get their shit together. They also make the presidential plane that's very late as well. Whatever the case is, this thing's spitting out fire. Kind of a trip. Whoops. Oh, that's how you go to the next story. That's nice. That's not what I wanted. Let's see if we can get this to load up. It's stupid ad here. There we go. So it's weird also to see it popping like that. Could be an injector thing maybe, and then it stops, by the way. So there did seem like there was a bunch of planes, or birds, but it may have been the perspective of the first image I was seeing. I don't know if there's... But yeah, either they turned the engine off because of that flaming or whatever. It was able to land. Obviously, people were freaking out. It's never fun to go through something crazy like that. And finally, I believe, yes, Fox News, Brett Burr. I gotta admit, the dude's growing back on me a little bit. I don't know. I've almost forgiven him from the 2020 election. Almost. I still don't like that blonde chick he hangs out with, but whatever. Brett Burr was ticketed. He picked up a cell phone in Washington, D.C., and got himself a ticket for doing so. What is that, a Range Rover? Nice looking, decent car, cruising around. Brett Burr. Nice. Yeah, whatever. There you go. He got a ticket. Got pulled over for driving and texting or whatever the hell. And, of course, it was during the D.C. stuff. So he was there trying to, quote-unquote, report. All said, many things going on in the world. We got a lot happening. Hopefully we can get some peace The deep state's running out of runway, that's for sure. They're going to have to do something crap or get off the pot, as they would say. We'll find out what they choose to do, and I think we'll be finding out in the coming weeks at best. Yeah, stuff's getting crazy. Where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan Radio Style.